Good evening, everyone. I love it. My name is Dr. Cordai Decoto, board certified podiatrist and host of Stepping Forward with Dr. D, the only talk show for all things of the foot and ankle occurring monthly on blackdoctor.org. It is my pleasure to bring you here tonight as I welcome my guest. As you know, I am also the co-founder of Sisters in Podiatry, a focused Facebook group for Black women in the United States and the Caribbean. And now I'm back in private practice, y'all, with the private practice being open to you guys this summer. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten, with the Foot Centers of New Jersey and New York. And I am back in Essex County. So what are we talking about? Today is actually, I think, Global Running Day. And I don't run, y'all. I do not run. My knees, no. I admire runners. I admire that strength, that tenacity, whether they're short distance runners or long distance runners. So I created this show to celebrate that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my first guest, I'm so sorry to say Dr. Tedwin, Kashila Lloyd. Kashila.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Let me tell you about Kashila. Kashila Lloyd is the Director of Employee Marketing within Group Benefits Division at MetLife. She oversees the development of the DTC marketing strategy for the federal segment for MetLife's portfolio of products. As a leader in the marketing space, she has shared her knowledge at industry events like IEG with aspiring marketing students through the consortium. She is a graduate of Georgetown University with a BS in finance and her MBA at the Stern School of Business at NYU. That means she's smart, guys. She has so many things that she does. She is a board of trustees for the Queen City Academy Charter School in Plainfield, New Jersey. She also volunteers in her community with her beloved, the sorority, the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Skiwi Masor, and Jack and Jill of America and the Junior League of Elizabeth Plainfield. She lives in northern New Jersey. I keep saying New York. I apologize for that. With her husband, Malcolm, and her 3 kids. So you know she's busy and runs. 11-year-old twins, Jackson and Layla, and 4-year-old Maverick. Welcome to our show. And she is a member of Black Girls Run, which she'll tell you more about. Thank you. Our next guest is a friend, and I'm welcoming Elmani Baini to the show. Welcome, Elmani. You're on mute, Elmani. There you go.
Yeah.
Elmani is a 26-year veteran educator. He's amazing, serving as the Dean of Students at Piscataway High and now in my hometown of West Orange High School. He is an avid trail runner and an ultra marathoner. Girl, if there could be more, you runners, ultra marathoners, amazing. Having just completed the Gorge Waterfall 100K, we won't even do the math, trail race in Cascades Lock, Oregon in April, which we were amazed at. He holds a master's in administration from Montclair State and a Bachelor of Arts of History from Boston College. He is a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Jersey City Stand Up alumni chapter, and a member of the Black Men Run, Northern New Jersey chapter, Black Men Run Trail, and Ultra Fanatics Sasquatch Trail Runners. That just makes my knees hurt talking about it. And he is a resident of my town, West Orange, with his lovely wife, my good girlfriend, Deidre Baini, his lovely daughter, Dana, and his son, Lorenzo. Welcome, Elmani.
Thank you for having me.
And we bring back to the show my colleague and friend, Dr. Stephen Bowie. And Dr. Bowie is so kind. He's doing this from Vietnam, guys. He is dedicated to his craft. Thank you so much. Dr. Bowie.
Very excited to be here again.
I love it. Dr. Bowie, again, is a surgeon, inventor, and he has guided thousands of people to live a healthier, more active lives. He's better known as Dr. Active because he lives and breathes medicine and sports. He's been practicing sports medicine in America for over 25 years with a special interest in postural biomechanics and injury prevention. He's a podiatrist, a pharmacist, and recovery expert. We call that in West Indian. In his spare time, if he had it, he loves to run. He's run over 13 marathons and I believe just completed an ultra marathon. He is one of the company he founded, Active Life, in 2015, that curates and promotes the world's best fitness product. All are validated by a team of sports medicine physicians and physical therapists, and their results are tested in consultation with personal trainers and athletes. His life journey is to have people live healthy and pain free, and he's here tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. So I
Thank you.
have these amazing, like, let me tell you, I don't run. I was blessed to do a hike with Omani, which I found so invigorating. And today is, I believe, National Runners Day, Global Run Day. And I was like, what a great day to talk about running. I think in the African American community, there was a stigma at one point. We don't run, especially Black women, because of our hair, we don't want to, whatever. But there's great groups like Black women, Black Girls Run that are across the country, and Black Men Run, which therefore is demystifying the stigma that Black people do not run. We run. And I love that, doctors are in their truth. I don't run, I do work out. I give a shout out to E2M, but I love the fact that Dr. Bowie is about making sure that we're healthy, mind, body, and spirit, and also about finding more conservative ways to handle pain that can occur in the lower extremity for runners. So with no further ado, I'm going to start with my sorority sister, Kashila. Tell us why you like to run, and tell us about Black Girls Run. For those who are like, Black Girls Run, what's that?
Yes. So why I like to run. So I ran since high school. So I ran in track. I was a high school track athlete. And so I've always sort of ran, and I kind of, obviously life gets in the way, and I had stopped running. And actually it was the passing of my father that got me back to running again. It was a way for me to basically be by myself with my thoughts on my, and when you're running, you can't tell the difference between sweat and tears. And so it was my own personal therapy. And I started that, and then I started meeting other people. So I looked to be able to run with others. And that's how I found Black Girls Run. So it's a national organization with chapters all across the United States. So I'm in the North Jersey chapter, and they create run meetups. We do races. There's several races that are big meetups for everyone in the organization. And it's a great way to get other people with you to run, because it's great to run by yourself, and I can do that, but I love to be able to run with other people. You can talk, you can just run to like music, and it just sort of helps you kind of push yourself. So that's why, and I encourage anyone who's interested in running, just, run by yourself if that's your thing. But if you want company, there are tons of organizations. Black Girl is one. There's Girl Trek that also does walking. I also
That's more my speed. I walk, I don't run.
I walk. So Girl Trek would be great. Girl Trek does walks. And obviously I have a treadmill, and my Peloton equipment is great as well. And just get out there and be active. And so I think everyone should find something that they enjoy and do that.
I love it. What we do on this show is give shout outs to people who support us. So hi, Omid Nori. Thank you so much for supporting. Hi, Fanny Boisel. Thank you so much for supporting. Let us know where you're hailing from. Again, we have Dr. Bowie all the way from Vietnam. We have Kashila Lloyd in Jersey, and Elmani Viney in Jersey, like me. Let us know where we're from so we can shout you out. Elmani, what makes, because I got to know this, what made you decide to be a runner, and why join Black Men Run? I think it's an amazing organization as well. Tell us about what gave you your why.
Well, since high school, I was always a track runner. I was a middle distance runner in high school, 800-meter runner. In college, briefly, I was a 600-meter runner. After that, of course, taking time off. What ended up happening was one of my fraternity brothers, Pierre Laveau, I got to give him props, was really starting this health initiative, I want to say about a decade ago, where he just want to get everybody healthy. So he did something called 1 in 100, which was, look, every day just go out and run a mile and do 100 push-ups. So that's how like the running bug started with me again. Mm-hmm. And because here in West Orange, Cordia, as you know, we live right next to South Mountain Reservation, and I'm the curious type. I'm someone that doesn't like to do what everybody does. I like to do things off the beaten path, literally. And I decided to say, you know what, this road stuff is cool, but what's going on in them woods? And
not afraid of bears, lions and tigers. Oh my!
Nope. And so it started me, and I just found it very unique and fascinating. And so that got me first into the trail running. COVID, other things, injuries, and I'm glad we're doing this. Injuries had derailed me for a couple of years, lower extremity injuries. COVID hit. Then I got older, saw friends that started and people I knew that started passing away, and realized that, okay, let's get back healthy. And then I started running again, started trail running. And then I ran into Black Men Run. Always was interested in the organization. But then what I found out that they were doing a Juneteenth about 2 years ago. They were doing the Juneteenth event down at the reservoir. And I said just to join in, just do the run. Did the run, met them. Became amazingly cool brothers, got involved. And what I really love about it is, yeah, it's about running, but it's really about two things. Number one, us building as Black men, having great conversations and doing that in the bonding. And the second, I think this is really unique. And I would even say, shout out to our Divine Nine. But the one thing that's so unique about, I'm pretty sure this is probably the same in Black Girls Run. I don't think I'm saying anything out of order here. Is when you post your run, your workout, whatever, there's just so much positive affirmation. It doesn't even matter if you just say, hey, I'm going out on a walk. A brother can just walk, hey, I walked today a quarter of a mile on the track. You're getting that love button. There are no beefs. There's no political talk. There's no fighting back and forth. You're literally going into spaces where it's nothing but positive reinforcement. And then last, but I'll say, as a trail runner, we're a unique subculture. Just to put in context here, there are only 1.77 million people in the world that are trail runners. In terms of ultra marathoners, the number is even crazier. It's 0.007% of all runners globally are ultra marathoners. When you talk about Black men in the United States of America, there's maybe 300 of us that are trail and ultra marathoners. On average, in the major races, you may see 2 to 3 of us. Gorge Waterfalls, for example, was a major ultra. I was one of 3. We just had the Cocodona 250 race, which is global. There were 4,
wow.
Black men that participated in that. So yeah, it's unique, but love it and love the camaraderie. I can go on forever talking about Black Men Running, Black Men Trail Ultra, but I'll stop there.
Dr. Bowie, you can come off of, I think you're on mute. So Stephen,
yes,
you run. So so first of all, you're taking care of all these busted up feet and ankles when they come in, but you are a marathoner and an ultra marathoner. And tell us what your impetus, what was your why to run, and why, and then the irony of getting into podiatry, it makes it even better. Tell us your story.
Thank you, Dr. D. My journey, actually, I was kind of forced into making the decision. I was diagnosed as pre-diabetes. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I have the option as a pharmacist. Before I was a pharmacist, I knew all the side effects from drugs and all the things that associated with going down that path. The other path that I have an option for, and everyone, and this is why I'm so vocal about this, and this is my why. I see that there's a natural, healthy solution to our health problem, which is taking care of ourselves, right? Eating right and exercise. Mm-hmm. So my primary care doctor say, okay, what's your choice? And I said, well, I have no choice. I know I would be going down the wrong path if I choose the medication and increasing the dose over the years. So what I decided to change myself and be committed. And the first thing that I did was, without any knowledge of running, I signed up for a half marathon without even thinking that I could ever do it. But
my knees hurt thinking about it.
I was thinking the same thing. How am I going to be able to do this? I couldn't even run a mile at that time. That was about 17 years ago. And it was just amazing how when you sign up for something, commit to something, and start with a proper plan. There's plenty of training plans on the internet that you can pick and choose from to tailor for yourself. And so you can do it safely. And that was my journey, running my first half marathon and completed it. I hated it. Completing the first half marathon, I hated it. I said I would never do it again. That's something inside of me. And I found out later on, right? It's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is what your brain releases when you exercise. Mm-hmm. And this hormones help us with our memory, help us with our cognitive function. Basically, what it's saying for the layperson is help us smarter, to become smarter. And I guess that's how I was kind of going down this path. And now I was able, I set myself a goal to run a marathon every year. And then recently, within the last few years, I dabble on the ultra marathon. And, Almani, I have to give it to you, man, 100 kilometer. That is just amazing. I did 50 mile, which is about 80 something kilometer. And that was very, very tough. But if you set your mind to it and work on it kind of gradually, you can do it. Obviously, this is very important. You check with your doctor before you start a exercise program to make sure you're doing it right. And this is why we do what we do, right? We offer our patients our help if they run into trouble, offer our guidance on our plan. And Dr. D, thank you for having me and allowing me to share my passion.
I love it. I want to give a shout out. Dwayne Fields from New Jersey's Black Men Run. Thank you for supporting us. Wanda Mosley, thank you for supporting us. So we're going to let the ladies chat. Now, girl, when we say girl, we're about to spill tea. There's such a stigma that Black women do not like to work out because of our hair. Y'all see that I have my gorgeous hair. It's in twist. One of the reasons I do that is to be able to work out, because I don't want that to be excuse. My history, everybody knows I'm a cancer survivor. So I need to work out. I must work out, and I need to be more consistent, but I do. And I will not let this be an excuse. And also I feel like community is a lot of times women like that sometimes, running with either a girlfriend or even being in a group of people. Tell us what Black Girls Run, even the title, I just love it. Tell us what community that feels like and the encouragement from head to toe.
I think Lamani said it the same way. It's about that everyone's just rooting for you. It's a place where every woman just roots for you, regardless of what it is you're looking to achieve, whatever pace you want, whatever you want to do. Everybody is rooting for you. And he's very right. Like when I go to races, when I go to marathons, there aren't a lot of people that look like me. And so it does, having Black Girls Run gives you that sense of community that sometimes when you're out in bigger races, you don't necessarily get to feel, because you're few and far between. But, I think, having the stigma of running, because I was like you, I used to, and actually, if you see this, my hair is sort of like flat ironed, and I flat ironed my hair this weekend, and I still ran like a 5K on Saturday. And my friends were like,
that's dedication, because many of us be like,
and, why in the world are you running? Because you're about to sweat, and all of that greatness that you just did is not going to last. But, it is temporary, and, I run and I make sure I have the right things to take the sweat away and make sure my edges are still flat. And you can do it. It's the same with swimming.
I'm going to stop you for a minute. I think someone's giving us background. I'm not sure if it's you, Cal, okay, but I'm hearing something. So just check your background for us.
All right. Is that better?
Much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think just like swimming, I like to swim too. You just protect your hair accordingly and you do it. And I think, as you said, once you set yourself as a goal, so I never thought about running races. I just ran casually. And it was through Black Girls Run that I met other women who were like, oh, I just did a marathon. I just did the London Marathon. I'm doing all the world majors. I'm going to get 6 stars. And I was like, what in the world is this? Can I do this? And they were like, of course you can. And I was like, I've never, to your point, I had never run a race. I mean, I ran track, but I've run my local 5K. And then I signed up for my first half marathon. And as Dr. B said, I did a plan. The plan trained me. And I ran and I didn't die. I was like, look, you didn't die. You finished the race.
You might have seen me on the side of the road
And then I became hooked. And then it was like, well, I ran a half. Like, how much faster can I get at a half? And then can I run a marathon? And I would say, like, I never thought I would be a marathoner. I looked at other people and be like, what can you do for 4 hours or 5 hours? Like, I was like, I don't have enough music. I don't have enough, like, just to keep my mind occupied to be running for that long. And my friends were like, you can do it. And I saw other people do it. And I was like, well, let me try. And I ran my first marathon last year in London.
Mhm.
And my friends came out and they cheered me on. And I did it. Now, I didn't do it in the time I wanted. I got an injury.
That's not the point. You did it.
Which I probably needed you, Dr. Bowie, because my whole quad cramped up on me. But, you know, I still like medaled through and I ended up finishing. I got my medal. But you know, it just shows and proves to yourself what you can do. And it's so important when you see others, that representation. And Lamani, like, I totally get the whole ultra runner and trail running. I bow down. That's not something that I, in this current state, I'm saying I'll do. I won't say never, because I also decided to run a marathon after thinking I'd never do that. But, you know, seeing other people that look like you, and that's really encouraging, because it does let you know that it can be done. Like, you can do it. You have to have some discipline about it, and you have to probably, you know, sacrifice some things. So I wear my hair more natural than I do flat iron most times. So it makes it easier for me to run and do what I need to do. But yeah, I think it's definitely possible.
Black girl problems, but we have solutions. Almani, I'm going to ask you the same question. You know, what is the pull, the draw for Black Men Run? Tell us about that. For, you know, brothers who might be saying, you know, I walk, I run. Well, I got it. You know, maybe they need the brotherhood as well. Brothers coming together. Tell us a little bit about that.
I really just think it's simply the brotherhood. I mean, you're coming for the brotherhood, and then from there, however level that you want to take it is fine. And what I mean by that is, for example, for Black Men Run North Jersey, we get together every Saturday at 8 a.m. When I'm inviting someone out, or when other brothers are inviting someone new out, the hesitancy that they say is, oh man, y'all might be too fast for me. I don't want to come out. You guys are doing it. And a lot of times, because they'll see their posts, right? I'm not even going to tell you what people think when they see me in the woods. But
I know when I saw you talking about the hike, I was like, oh Lord, but I enjoyed it. I truly did. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. But the one thing I'll say to any brother listening is, when we run together, we have a saying, no man left behind. Mm-hmm. We are not out there, all of us. Okay. So let me simplify it like this. Those of us that are incredibly serious runners, oftentimes we have our own training program, whether solo or with someone else, to where we're getting into our pace, our intervals, and all the more complicated training block stuff. When we're together, if I'm coming out with a run, if I'm inviting someone, I'm already knowing we're running the talk. I'm not looking at my watch. I'm not looking at the time. We'll set a certain amount of miles that we know is doable for people. But I'm not looking at anything else, because it's an invitation for camaraderie, for brotherhood. You can't ask a brother to come out and it's their first time, and all of a sudden start doing 10-minute miles. Like, you just, no, that's disrespectful. So the pull is the conversation. And I will say, like, I had one of my chapter brothers from my undergraduate chapter. Me and him had, this is about last year, the year before, we were all together at Weequahic, and we was running around Weequahic doing 4 miles. We had the best conversation about life, about marriage, about family, about fatherhood, in those hour and whatever. And that's the point. That there's no other point. You know, I'm sorry, there's no other point. And the other thing I'll say is this, and I'm pretty sure you see this as well, and it's not really spoken about, is you get up with a purpose. I'm talking about beyond work. When you get up that Saturday, everybody that's getting up at 7 a.m. to get to an 8 a.m., you get up with a purpose, and a very powerful and a very positive purpose. and you're engaging in something that's incredibly well. And I love rooting brothers on. And like I said, because again, and we don't need to get into what's going on in the global world, but there are very few places for Black people and for people of color where you can go into a space where everything is welcoming, where everything that is stated is welcoming. It is loved, where there is no judgment and everything. And I'm not trying to make our organizations be utopic, but I will say it's as close as you can get, because that love is absolutely 100% there. So I think in closing, I'd just say that, you know, Black Men Run is multiple things. It's health, it's positive reinforcement, it is indeed the safe space. It is indeed camaraderie. Just know that so many brothers is rooting for the next brothers. And it is also about, it is also about, and this is lesson. The cool thing is watching brothers continue to level up. Some brothers come in and they're like, I'm just going to do this. But it gets addictive being in that culture. And all of a sudden they're like, well, you know what? I want to try this. You got brothers that sometimes will walk, and now all of a sudden they're doing half marathons. You got brothers that say, yo, half marathons, I'm good. Now they're doing a marathon. You know, I had brothers that were like, yo, I'm never doing trails. I don't know how you do it. I got brothers showing up in West Orange at a trail race. Like, I'm out here. Like, I see you. You know, so it is wonderful to see. Yeah, that's what I'll say about us. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Eliza Fred, for joining us. Carol Wright Turner, thank you so much. So Dr. Bowie, let's talk medicine, doctor. That sounds great. You and I both know that we get tons of people that come in with foot injuries and ankle injuries. Our orthopedic colleagues are seeing those busted knees like myself. Dr. Jason Garcia, I'll give him a shout out at Summit Medical. He's probably seen all my friends at this point. The joke is drop it like it's hot and can't get back up. What conservative options in terms, let's break it down into two pieces, Dr. Bowie. First, what tips would you give a runner, being that you're a board certified physician and a marathoner, for protection of their foot and ankle? Things to know prior. And then we're going to talk about the injuries that may happen after, what types of things you see, and treatment. So let's start with first. You know, it might be that you have Kashila and Amani, they're in great shape, they run, but, you know, like everybody else, especially if they're, you know, egging on other people in Black Girls Run and Black Men Run, you know, I'm going to be supporting them when they have their walk. I'm going to be giving you some good tips that day. I'm not running, but I'm going to be giving you some good tips. Since we're here, what would you say to them? What would you say to people? Like, what can we do to protect these feet and ankles?
Yes, thank you, Dr. D. I think the most important thing that I learned, and I made this mistake before when I'm starting out, you know, when you're hanging out with people like Armani, Kashila, it's so much positivity that you get wrapped up in it. And it's great. It's the right positive vibe. Mm-hmm. And you want to go out there and you want to run and you want to do all these things. Overwhelming enthusiasm and everything else, right? The key to this is to start slow. And you know, with experienced runners like you guys, that's the right people to go out and start a program with. You don't want to just do it on your own. And I try to do it on my own as well. And that's how I got injured. Because when we go out and do it on our own, it's that adrenaline rush that make us feel like we can run forever. We can run faster than we should be running. And what happened, you can get injured. So the key to this is to start slow and to progress slowly. Slow, always slower than you think. And I remember learning about the too many two syndromes, right? You start out too fast, you progress, you know, too soon, and you know you end up, you know, getting all these injuries. So I used to say, you know, progress no more than 10% of your volume of running. Like, let's say 10 miles. For people that have been running for a while, 10-mile a week is decent. You know, so you want to progress like another mile the next week. You don't want to progress more than 10 miles. But even to me, that this rule is a little bit pushing people too fast. I like what Chris Nikic is the first Down syndrome, person that had completed an Ironman, and he's inspired me. I met him in Florida. He inspired me. And he has a rule, a 1% rule. And 1% rule is just to work on improving it 1% per week. And this will minimize any injury that you get from, runners. We get a lot of injuries. It's mostly repetitive injury that you've seen, Dr. D. They coming in, they got strain, they got plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis,
metatarsalgia, capsulitis, all the big words. Absolutely. And all the itis that y'all are like, what? Y'all got the itis.
Yes. Of the foot. Look, a lot of that is your body's not adjusting to it as quickly as you like. Especially all those people like us, right? It takes time for us to adjust. Yes. Okay. So I would say, just follow that 1% rule and hang out with the right crew. I think being with the right people that had the experience is a stepping stone to progress. And because anytime you get injured, you take one step forward, you're actually taking 2-3 steps back if you got injured. So if you can prevent injury, so for me, prevention is the biggest thing, right? Prevention, the old saying, an ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure. This is, no further than the truth in running, even especially. So I think that's the most important cue is, curb your enthusiasm and use that enthusiasm to connect with people and invite more people out to have more people to be active. And I think then you have a community that keeping each other safe.
So, okay, that's wonderful. Now we have our weekend warriors. People are going to be like, I saw Money runners, I'm going to run too. And then they're going to be calling me, hey girl, or hey sis. And I'm like, here we go. So, and even the experienced runners like yourself, I'm sure Omani is okay with that. He's been my patient, which I love that he supports me. So one of the things I want to say, what are the type of injuries, especially as the fact you're a runner, that you see? Let's talk about that, because patients come in sometimes and they're complaining of pain. They think they know stuff and they've tried this and what are the injuries that you see in runners typically?
So I would say the number one injury that runners suffer that I see is plantar fasciitis.
And what is plantar fasciitis for the lay people?
Well, plantar fasciitis is, the original term is inflammation of the plantar fascia that insert into the heel bone. Mm-hmm. And in runners or people that are not active, the fascia is very weak. And when you're exposed to so many steps in one weekend, the weekend warrior, right? It get irritated, it get inflamed. And you might not see the swelling, but inside it's like a little fire that start burning in there, and it hurts like crazy. And that's one of the reasons if you are starting too early. And this is why, Amani, if you're coming out with a group, we always ask, what have you done before? We're trying to gauge what you have done and try to not let you push yourself too much. Because when you run in with a group, that group energy is so powerful that you get wrapped up. I had got wrapped up as well and running faster than you think you could. So, your friend will try to, slow you down and help you with that. I think that's very, very important. So plantar fasciitis is something that we see very, very often, and it can be treated, and heal pretty quickly if you catch it early. Now, people tend to run through it as well. They think, it's a little bit of pain, I can run through it. It's actually, the verdict of that. Sometimes they come in, oh yeah, I have this 5 months, 6 months. Well, guess what? It's not going to take you a week, 2 weeks to get better. It will take you months to get better for something that you neglect for months. So that's the number one issue that we see. And I'm pretty sure you see this as well. Achilles tendonitis is another common condition that you
back
see.
Back of the heel for those.
Back of the heel, where your Achilles insert. And same thing here, repetitive injury, weak muscle that you're not used to, and all that pounding on your feet. Doing more than you should be doing for the first time, or what we encourage people is do the workout during the week so that you don't get that weekend warrior syndrome, that you get all type of aches and pains and things like that. So I would say that the most two common that I see, plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, and Dr. D, you mentioned before, we also see some metatarsalgia, which is pain in the ball of your foot. It's like they call it bone bruise over here. And so for people that have a forefoot strike and they overexert themselves, they're more apt to get something like that. Or people that have hammer toe syndrome, where their toe curled back, it adds more pressure to the ball of their foot. So when they start running, they get that area bruised easily as well. So there you have it.
I totally agree with you. I have I've seen a variety of runners, plantar fasciitis or heel pain, Achilles tendonitis in the back of the foot, ball of the foot pain. In addition to that, horrible nails. Sometimes they bleed on their nails, black spots, nails fall off. I used to help with the marathon, right? Y'all, like, I'm speaking your language. I used to work the New York marathons back in the day. Nail fungus, because they're not seeing anybody and the nail grows all kind of nasty ways. Bacterial infections like Pseudomonas when the nail is green nail syndrome, right, under the nail. Oh my God, bruises and contusions, stress fractures, where we've had patients think it's just, oh no, I know it's plantar fasciitis because you guys are WebMDing yourselves, and you're wrong. The x-rays are showing that you have a stress fracture. And the worst thing you can tell a runner is they can't run. They look at you like you've stolen their best friend, taken away their favorite toy. And you're like, listen, my foot works, is yours? And, and a lot of times you have to have that downtime going into a boot to allow that bone to heal. That doesn't mean cheating. I told them, I try to find other ways for runners to work out. I'm like, run in a pool. That's the best thing you can do. There's no pressure. Swim in a pool. Want to run, run. Running in a pool is difficult, more than people think, especially against that pressure. It's a great workout. So I'm not telling you not to. You could lift weights, but you can't do, anything that's putting pressure on that heel. We get patients who get calf cramps, especially our weekend warriors or newbies. You don't stretch. Anyone over the age of 40 not stretching, you're asking for an injury. Pre-stretching and post-stretching. And those tendons and muscles are saying, oh my God, what's going on? People get, shin splints. I used to get that when I cheerleaded, and that hurts like the dickens, or calf cramps. So one of the best advice I give people is that pre-stretch, a good pre-stretch and a great post-stretch. Your body needs it to replace oxygen into those muscles. Knees, I know somebody asked, hi, Kathy Taylor, and hi, Michelle Reynolds West. Knees, not our specialty, but I will say that the knee goes through a traumatic, that's why I had meniscus surgery, so I am not a runner. My orthopedist is like, I wouldn't recommend that for you. Losing weight and working out definitely helped, but making sure that knee, that's so much weight that you're pounding on the foot and the knee. If you're doing that without something well warmed up, you're asking for an injury. Dr. Bowie, last question for you before I go back to them. So you run ultra marathons. Tell us, besides, what are the benefits of running on the body? Give us 5 good points why you should run and why you've taken it. Obviously, you talked about preventing prediabetes, but the cardiovascular effect of running is amazing. Talk about that.
Okay, so I look at it this way, from head to toes, running helped everything. So from the head, it helped with the brain. So what we mentioned before, the geeky term that we use, the brain-derived neuroplastic factor is the hormone that released when you do aerobic exercises, and running is a great aerobic exercise. So it really helped our body, our mind, to function better. The way it is optimize our brain function when you do aerobic exercise, especially for a sustained period of time. So we're talking about half an hour or more. And this is my current recommendation, is to run for half an hour up to about 2 hours. Now, I'm still looking at the research out there that talks about marathon, ultra marathons. And, there's not enough study to say running more necessarily be better for our body. But the evidence is very, very clear for running distance from a 5K to a half marathon. The benefits are clear. Obviously, running too much, ultra marathon and things like that, there's also, issues with that if your body's not ready for it. And not everybody is made to run an ultra marathon. So, you have to know your body. That's right. There you go. And even, good runner out there too. So those things are very important, to know yourself and always work with the professional to get their advice. So for the brain, it helped with our brain function, our cognitive function, our memories. We have a heart, right? So it helped with our blood pressure regulation, our cardiac health, And so American Heart Association recommend us to have at least 30 minutes of cardio type of exercise 5 times a week. So if you do that, that's the minimum that will keep us healthy. That's protective for our heart. So a lot of people have heart conditions. So, and the combination, not only the heart, the blood pressure, that preventing people from getting strokes. So those are the two factors that how it helped with our heart, right? And the third thing, contrary to many people's belief that running too much causes arthritis, right? This is something like, I can't run because if I run an ultra marathon, I'm going to get arthritis. And it's some of the older studies, if we don't look at carefully, it did show some arthritis for these ultra runners. And it's not because running causes arthritis or wearing out of the cartilage or creating bone on bone. It's actually, the study now show that it helps strengthen protective of our joint. But if you have bad alignment in the joint, if you have issue with laxity, if you have issue with misalignment, this is why posture is so important, is to get evaluated for, issues that you have, with your knee arthritis already. There's certain things that you have to do to run properly. And that's another talk that we talk about, running biomechanic. If you have issues with your running biomechanic, you run into problem and run into arthritis. So the newer studies show that if you run, the more you run, it will be more protective to our joints and it's protect our body, right? So, this kind of dispel the old belief of running cause arthritis. And I would say lastly, it's overall well-being. What we touch on a little bit about group running, right? This is so important to our psyche. It's our belonging. Human are creature that works, in a group. And when we run as a group, it helps elevate the energy of the group, the positivity, right? We are all working together, create that rising tide that help lifting each other's up. And I think that's the last and the benefits that people overlook of running with a group. They're like Armani was mentioning, we have our own meditative type of running. We do our own thing, running alone. That's very important. But there is time that it's important for us to get together. And that there's an old African saying that if you want to run faster, you run alone. If you want to run further, you run together. And that's the final wrap up of the whole package of why running is so great for our body.
I love it. You have a question, Dr. Booth. Somebody asked, have you ever heard of run less to run faster theory?
Yes, and I actually learned that from a good friend of mine, Dr. Mark Cucuzzella. He wrote the book on running for your life. And I love everything that he wrote and everything that we talked about here was in this book that touches some points. One of the things that he did not believe was, he said, run slower, so that you can run faster. And I didn't get it because training, I'm thinking if I have to train hard, I'll get stronger if I train harder. But in his book, he talks about, and this Dr. Maffetone theories that he talks about in his method. He talks about running at a heart rate. The formula is 180 minus your age. That's a general formula. And so let's say you're 50 years old. 180 minus your 50 years old is 130. So if you're running at that heart rate, which is, to me, it's too slow. When I run, my heart rate sometimes go 160, 170, and it's not training your aerobic base. When you're running slower, you're building your aerobic base that make your whole body get stronger, your lungs, your heart get faster. So anyway, get back to that. Dr. Mark Cucuzzella told me, you got to do that so you can run faster and longer. And I didn't believe it until I saw him and we were running, training together. And I'm always faster than running in front of him. But on the race, I remember on a half marathon race, he finished about half an hour before I did. He can go home and take a nap and eat before I finished. I was training faster than him. I said, you know what? I have to change the way I train. And when I take up on that running slower and training my aerobic base, that's how I was able to complete these ultra marathons. I don't think I would able to do these ultra marathon that I can actually enjoy if I didn't learn to build my aerobic base like that. So it is so true, and you have to look it up and learn to run with your heart rate. And there's so many books out there that talk about running on heart rate, but I think that's the basis of what you're talking about is running based on heart rate.
Love
so
it.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you. So Elmani, let's go to you. I love that you created in West Orange, for beginners, because when you said hike, I was like, we going to do what? And, because for people who like me, who I don't like to run, I just not my thing. But you created this, I would call it a microcosm for people. It was from the ages of 7 to 70 plus a dog. And we hiked through the South Mountain Reserve, which I thought was wonderful. Tell me, what are the things that you would encourage for someone who's a novice, who's maybe listening to this like Amrit? What inspiring things, or what kind of tips would you give? And also tell us about, what you do in West Orange to encourage people to get active.
So I'll start backwards. To encourage people, I post some of my runs, but I try to post the scenery. And I post about getting out and getting active, and I also try to post data. Keep it simple data, but data about why getting out, especially about nature, is really a good thing and beneficial for the health, right? In terms of tips that I give people, the first thing is, are we talking hiking or running?
This doesn't matter. You're getting real specific. Somebody who's interested in any of it, they may have said, I never hiked in years since I went hiking with you,
right.
And I'm not a runner. So I'm a perfect example to get someone motivated. I had girlfriends who are like, I'm not doing that. How would you encourage us to come out?
I think this, and whether the hiking culture or the trail running culture, we have to, I'm going to put it on those of us that lead these things. We have to present it in a very welcoming way. We have to be very clear when we say, hey, this is a basic hike. We're going to see some great stuff. Or when I'm taking someone out on a trail run, I'll say, hey, we're doing 3 miles. Don't worry about the pace. Don't worry. Now, this is someone that does know how to run now, where I feel comfortable saying that. But I always make it a point to be very detailed about what we're going to do, and make sure that they understand we're going to stay within their pace. I know I have to, because I know when I do my posts about what I do and people see what I do, it scares the living daylights out of them. And so I'm very clear, like
when you did 100K, you were like, he's lost his mind. Okay.
Yeah, we're not doing that. But once I find that we satisfy that, and we talk a little bit about the benefits, and I try to also tap into people's curiosity, like, hey, here's some of the things that you're going to see and experience. We find out, I find it to be like, really successful, and it goes well. And I know, like, once I'm done training for this next huge race that I have, that's actually more challenging than the Gorge Waterfalls. I don't want to jinx myself, so I won't talk about it, but yeah. I would say that. But actually, if you don't mind, I want to talk about what Dr. Bowie was talking about, because I know we have some people that are novices that may be listening in about the feet, but I want to also know that we got some people that are runners, and sometimes the runners who don't have these issues might get overconfident. And the reason why I was so happy about tonight, because I was dealing with a foot issue, and when we talk about issues, right? And Cordai, I think you talked about this, about the knee. What's so interesting about the feet is that it can be the source of problems in other areas that people don't realize. So
if you well,
right. So if you're talking about, let's say, IT band, right? And people think the IT band, oh, that's a knee, that's a hip, that's the band on the side issue. But if you don't have strong arches and you have
Dr.
a
Bowie, aren't
running
you proud?
imbalance, you know, and especially going downhill, and people don't realize this because people think the harder thing on the legs is going uphill. No, it's going downhill.
Downhill, absolutely.
Right? That could be causing IT band issue, could be causing that. It can cause hip issues. And so, and I would say this to people that are now getting into the flow of running, and even people that are, you know, getting in just a step, you're going to find that the more you run, the more you have to pay attention to the body mechanics. This next race, for example, that I'm training for, yes, I'm getting in the mileage. That is true. I have to for it. But my focus has been since the end of Gorge, because, Corda, I think I told you, it took me a while to recover. And that's another thing I want to just touch on briefly here. But it took me a while.
You have 2 minutes to touch on it briefly.
Okay, Gary. But this whole training block I've been in has really been more of a focus on body mechanics and actually feet. How do I tape my heel? How do I tape my arches? What type of foot strength? When I'm at the gym, I have at least 30 minutes of foot strengthening and hip and I know you talked about stretching, but also mobility and flexibility exercises. I don't even really touch weights. But I'm doing all of these different exercises, and that's huge in the ultra marathon and trail running community. The last thing I'll say is recovery. You're absolutely right about going slower. Folks that are running and you're novices, I'm going to say this and stand on this. 80 to 85% of your runs should be easy. 80 to 85% of your runs should be easy. You should not be trying to go for a PR every time you go out and run. That is a recipe to seeing Dr. Cordai every week. That is a recipe for it. Okay, so I'm just warning folks, you're not. Yes, you want to let.
Wait, Armani, you're running us out of business. This is bad for business.
Oh, my fault.
But seriously,
I taught him well, and he is into it. I'm proud of him, but I'm gonna make him go stay in his lane.
You did great, Dr. D.
I'm so impressed. No, I'm really impressed. And what I would like to say, I want to turn it to Kashila, and then I'm going to give Dr. Bowie a closing statement. Kashila, for my sisters, girl. So we want to be out there cute. We want to make sure our hair somewhat recovers because we're going out later. But we need to make sure we're cute, and we need to keep our blood pressure down, and we need to keep diabetes away and all those, and girl, the cholesterol. And we probably will go to brunch after because we're those types of people, right? That's what women do.
I do love a good brunch.
I love a good brunch. So tell me if you can give some tips to a novice as a woman, for someone who is like, girl, I'm not gonna do that because my silk press is $300. You know what? I don't like to sweat that hard. It just makes me feel, girl, I'm very overweight. Girl, I got kids. Every excuse that we hear as women. What, if you can give me a minute, what tips would you give? And then we're going to do some wrapping up closing statements after I ask Dr. Bowie a last question.
What I say, and I say this to everyone, something is better than nothing. So I think a lot of times people are like, I got to go out and do my 3-hour run or my 2-hour run. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't have that every day. I don't have 2 hours.
You got 3 kids. You're like, hello.
I don't have, sometimes I got 15 minutes, and that is sometimes good enough. And that's what I tell people, whatever you do is good enough. Like, yes, there's other people who can go out and run for 3 hours on a Tuesday. You may not have that kind of time. So I always tell people, do what works for you. And don't think of it as oh my God, I didn't run 30 minutes or I didn't run an hour. You ran 15 minutes. And that's better than what you were doing yesterday, right? So keep doing that. I also tell people, find the times that work. So I have kids, so I have a treadmill. So I can run in my house with my kids there. I don't have to deal with, oh my God, I'm running out the house, my kids are there. So that works for me. If that works for you, great. Get yourself a treadmill. There's obviously expensive ones, but there are cheap ones. And let me tell you, everybody's selling a treadmill on Facebook Marketplace. So if you want to find one, now is about time, because everyone who bought one in January who said they're going to work out are probably ready to give it up.
It takes 3 weeks to form a habit, and they didn't do them 3 weeks.
Exactly. They're ready to get rid of that treadmill right about now. So you could probably get a good deal on it. And that works for you if that works, right? Or, one time I found a gym that had childcare. So it was great for me. I was able to bring the kids and I was able to still kind of do workout. So there are things to do to just make it work for you. Make it work for you. I think one of the things I tell people is don't make you feel like you have to work in it. Like people feel like they have to fit a certain mold. I have to do what these other people are doing. You need to just do what it is that works for you. And that is your hair. Like, you know what? If you get a silk press, like I tell my coach, I'm like, look, we're going to get a silk press. So that long run you want, I'm going to do that today because I'm going to do the silk press and I have an event to go to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he's like, I get it. I was like, all right. Like, so whatever works for you and do that. And what Dr. B said of starting slow is right. Getting the right footwear. Like that's something, all shoes are cute, but all shoes aren't right for you. And I used to shop for shoes to be like, oh, that's cute. And I used to be like, I want those sneakers and those colors.
I'm going to work it with my outfit.
And I went and got someone to look at my stride and look at it. And I had to get these not as sexy looking shoes, but they had the right cushion for my pronation over pronation. And it was like night and day. Like, and so I will say to people, like, obviously you do want to look cute. And I do have my matching outfits. And, but I think making sure you have the right shoes, because to his point, your feet kind of help everything. Like if your foot strike's not right, that will mess up with your knees. That will mess up with your shoulders, your joints, like everything can get out of whack if that's not working well. And that's something when I was a novice, when I started, I just like whatever pair of Nikes I had, I just went out and ran, which was
you can't do that.
That was not smart.
Not smart at all. We have 3 minutes left. So I'm going to turn over to Dr. Bowie. Dr. Bowie, in 30 seconds, recommend your top sneakers for runners. A, regular running, B, trail running. 30 seconds or less.
All right. So you have to go try these shoes out yourself and run in them in the store. So that's number one. So don't buy online and expect to run a marathon with it. Number two, trail running and regular road running are two different type of running, different type of treads for the shoes. So you want to buy the type of running shoes that work best for you. And there's two train of thought, and we're not going to go into it right now in terms of minimalist, maximalist, and things like that.
Don't have the time. Sorry, guys.
Wear the shoes that you feel most comfortable on and allow the full function of your foot. Don't wear shoes that are too tight for you. So that's proper fit is the key. Thirdly, trail running shoes. So for trail running, lots of obstacles and things like that. So select the right kind of trail running shoes. Don't take your road running shoes to go trail running. It's because that's another recipe for disaster. That's exactly it.
You'll be seeing us. I want to thank you guys. I'm sorry to wrap. This is great. We have to do a part 2. Maybe July will be the part 2. I think this is a good idea because we just tapped into it. I would love July to be part 2 if all 3 of you can come back, because there's, I think, a lot of questions. So keep that. We'll throw a date at you. 30 seconds. We don't even have it. I want to thank everybody for coming. I can't even speak today. Sheila Lloyd for being a marathoner for Black Girls Who Run, and you can look that up online because they're everywhere. Elmani Baini, you can find Elmani Baini, I know, on social media, like again, if you guys are in Northern Jersey, and of course, Black Men That Run with various chapters across the United States. Dr. Bowie, we can find you at Dr. Active on Instagram, I think Facebook, everywhere you want to be, he's there. And of course, Talks with Dr. D on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, because we're here to educate and entertain you one step at a time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Look out for part 2 in July. Let's get active and let's get right. Thank you so much for joining us on blackdoctor.org, where wellness and culture connect. Good night.